Number 10. Khabib Nurmagomedov. I might have just started our list with the best wrestler MMA has ever seen. Khabib, the Eagle, Nurmagomedov is an unprecedented force inside the octagon. He fought 29 times inside the cage. 29 men have tried, 29 have failed. Khabib is undefeated his whole career. In his UFC career, he has only lost a single round. Nurmagomedov is the best ground and pound fighter of all time. There is just a matter of time when his opponents will be on the back and Khabib on top of them. Until now, nobody has yet figured how to solve the mystery of Khabib's wrestling. Khabib also holds the record for most takedowns in a single fight. He is the current UFC lightweight champion of the world with 3 title defenses to his name. It is uncertain if we will see Khabib step into the octagon for one more time, to fulfill his father's wish and to get that perfect 30-0. Number 9. Daniel Cormier. Daniel DC Cormier is an Olympic and NCAA Division I wrestler. He is one of the, if not the best wrestler in the history of the heavyweight division. In his extraordinary career, he came short of a win only 3 times. 2 of those came from his biggest rival, Jon Jones. 2 come from the current UFC heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic. Cormier is known for his height and reaches. Despite those small sizes, when it comes to dictating the pace of the fight and setting up the pressure on his opponents, he is one of the best to ever do it. With his extraordinary cardio for a weight class, Daniel is always in his opponent's face, leaving them no room to breathe. Daniel Cormier retired after the trilogy fight with Stipe Miocic. He lost the fight on the judge's decision and failed to recapture the heavyweight gold. Still, DC retired as one of the greatest of all time. Number 8. Jon Jones. Jon "Bones" Jones is arguably the best fighter that has ever stepped foot inside the octagon. He is the youngest man that has ever won the UFC championship belt. Jones is undefeated for his whole career. In his first title reign, Jon, a young kid from Albuquerque, completely wiped out the whole UFC light heavyweight division. In the process, he absolutely dominated the best fighters and champions from that era, including Shogun, Quinton Jackson, Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen, Alexander Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira, and Daniel Cormier. He defended the belt on 7 occasions. But, in 2015, problems have started for Jones. He was involved in a lot of scandals and illegal substances usages, so he was stripped of the title and took some time outside the octagon. He had problems for years, and when he finally came back in 2019, he quickly regained the UFC light heavyweight throne, and in just over a year, started to clear the division once again. In his second run, he is at 3 title defenses. Although nobody in the UFC has a resume even nearly similar to Jones, people are still doubting his status as the greatest of all time. To clear that doubt, Jones said that in the near future, he will step up and go to the UFC heavyweight division to clear that one as well, and secure his status as the baddest man that has ever walked the earth. Number 7. Yoel Romero. Yoel, Soldier of God, Romero is a Cuban Olympic silver wrestler. When you see him, Yoel is just scary. The UFC middleweight fighter might just be the most athletic and fittest fighter that has ever lived. At the age of 43, he has a body and strength that absolutely defies all laws of human aging. Romero's outstanding wrestling and control of opponent is matched just with his insane one-punch KO power. Cuban wrestler is a fighter that absolutely nobody wants to face. Number 6. Kamaru Usman. Kamaru, the Nigerian nightmare, Usman is the current UFC welterweight champion of the world. In his title fight against former champion Tyron Woodley, Usman absolutely dominated the whole 5 rounds. He set an unbelievably high pace, and with his amazing wrestling abilities, Kamaru took Tyron down almost at will. Worth noticing is that Woodley's takedown defense before that fight was incredible, but Usman still took him down whenever he wanted. Usman is an NCAA Division II wrestler. His wrestling background enabled him to achieve current success in the UFC. He averages 3.44 successful takedowns per 15-minute fight, which is incredible. His takedown accuracy is incredible, with half of his takedown attempts being successful. When we talk about Usman's takedown defense, it stands at an extraordinary 100%. No fighter in the UFC has yet managed to take Usman down. The Nigerian Nightmare defended his title 3 times, against Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, and Gilbert Burns. When it is all said and done, Usman might go in the history as one of the greatest of all time. Number 5. Colby Covington. Colby, Chaos, Covington, an NCAA Division I wrestler. Probably the most hated guy inside the UFC. After his first 9 UFC fights, UFC was set to release him. They said that his wrestling style and boring personality just weren't the right fit for the company. Soon, Colby realized he had to change something. After his fight against Damian Maia in São Paulo, Brazil, where he completely outclassed Maia, he called a whole country of Brazil a bunch of filthy animals, and Brazil, you absolutely SK. The post-fight interview soon went viral, and everyone started to hate Covington. For UFC, that meant one thing: money. They gave Colby a new contract, and Covington's rise to notoriety started. Soon, he managed to get the whole world to hate him, insulting absolutely everyone in the process. But, to set Colby's marketing strategy aside, he is one of the best wrestlers the UFC has ever seen. His cardio and pressure are off the charts. Colby scores an insane 4.91 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 51% takedown accuracy. The pressure and control that he puts on his opponents are absolutely incredible. Colby dominates almost all of his opponents, and that earned him a title shot against Usman. Although he lost via TKO in the 5th round, the fight was an absolute war. In his fight against Robbie Lawler, Covington set the UFC record for most strikes thrown in a single fight with an absolutely incredible amount of 541 strikes. Number 4. Georges St Pierre. Georges Rush St Pierre is a Canadian MMA fighter. He is a true legend of the sport, inside and outside of the octagon. GSP comes into talk both when talking about the fan-favorite fighters, and when talking about the best to ever do it. Georges is often regarded as one of the best ground-and-pound fighters in the history of MMA. GSP is the 4th multi-divisional champion in UFC history. He was the UFC welterweight champion for more than 2,000 days with 9 title defenses to his name. In 2017, he came out of retirement to win the UFC middleweight belt also against Michael Bisping. But soon retired once again. Georges is well known for his incredible fight IQ. In combination with his extraordinary wrestling abilities, he always chooses where the fight will take place. In his case, that is often on the ground. GSP holds the UFC record for most takedowns in history. He takes his opponents to the ground, secures a good position, and then ground and pounds them until he wins. Georges also has a takedown accuracy of 74%, which is just unreal. Number 3. Henry Cejudo. Henry, the Messenger, Cejudo, also known as Triple C, is the first man to be the champion of 2 UFC divisions and to have an Olympic gold. Henry is an Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling. In 2018, he won his first UFC gold against Demetrius Johnson, ending his 11 title defenses reign. Next year, he made his first title defense in flyweight against one of the best bantamweights of all time, TJ Dillashaw, knocking him out in just 32 seconds. Later that year, Henry moved up to the UFC bantamweight division where he challenged Marlon Moraes for the vacant belt. In the third round, he TKO'd Moraes, thus becoming the fourth fighter to hold 2 UFC belts simultaneously. With 2 UFC belts around his shoulders and Olympic gold medal around his neck, he earned his new nickname, Triple Champion, or shorter, Triple C. Next year, Triple C defended his belt against one of the best bantamweights of all time, Dominick Cruz. Following the win, he retired and went into history as one of the greatest and most decorated combat sports athletes of all time. Number 2. Dominick Cruz. Dominick the Dominator Cruz is one of the greatest UFC bantamweights of all time. But, his tremendous career is overshadowed by his injuries. He was the UFC bantamweight champion until 2011 when he had to postpone his career due to injuries. Cruz came back in 2016 to immediately challenge the then-current champion, TJ Dillashaw. Dominick regained his title by split decision in what was for most the biggest comeback in the MMA history. At the end of the year, he lost his belt against Cody Garbrandt, and due to injuries went out of the game for another 4 years. He returned to the octagon in 2021 and lost to Henry Cejudo in a title fight. Dominick is well known for his fighting IQ, cardio, and incredible wrestling skills. He comes from a strong wrestling background, thus, the number of 3.17 average takedowns per 15 minutes is no surprise at all. Number 1. Tyron Woodley. Tyron, the Chosen One. Woodley is an American NCAA Division I MMA fighter. He has a strong wrestling background, which he successfully translated to MMA. Woodley has 3 UFC welterweight title defenses to his name, against Stephen Thompson, Damian Maia, and Darren Till. Although, having an incredible wrestling background, Tyron is known for his one-punch KO power. Actually, he rarely uses his wrestling abilities to take opponents down. He puts his wrestling skills to use to defend the takedowns. Woodley has an astonishing takedown defense. Of all the times when his opponents tried to take him down, Tyron successfully defended 92% of those attempts, which is absolutely high number.